Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I welcome all of you back to another... Sorry about that. Rage video, where tonight, ladies and gentlemen, once again, one of the things we always like to do here on this channel, ladies and gentlemen, is we love to explore. We love to go into various strange directions, and this whole year has been one of great exploration and discovery. I almost systematically stick to heavy metal and rock music, and you know you're onto something really strange when the first video I released this year was Taylor Swift's Anti-Hero. And that was, god damn it, that was nearly 8 months ago when I did that. God damn. And then it went into quite a lot of other pop songs as well. And then it sort of became a little bit strange because then I developed a fascination for quite a lot of things like national anthems. And now what we're doing today is our first real video game OST reaction. And it comes to us from the video game Bloodborne, which is turning 8 years old this year. And the reason why I want to do a From Software game is because I kind of almost want to I want to know if there's actually some good OST in the Armored Core series, because I know that Armored Core 4 Fires of Rubicon is going to be released later this year, and I have absolutely no knowledge whatsoever of what the Armored Core franchise is. So that's kind of like why I'm like fishing out. There's things I wanted to know, and I know maybe Vadia, I think he's the guy who goes into depth about all the lore for all the games. There may be something in it I'm missing, but who knows, because that's not what we're here to talk to today. Because today, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Bloodborne. And it is, many people have gone at it as perhaps their favourite From Software game. Better than Dark Souls 3, better than Sekiro, better than Elden Ring. Which, let me tell you, I've played, with the exception of Sekiro, I've played all of those games. But this one I kind of wanted to save because I heard the experience in Bloodborne is something very special. And after, I started playing it for the first time earlier this year, and I got up to roughly the Blood-Starved Beast, and I can't really say I've played it since. Not because I didn't like the experience or I just got hard stopped because I lost a lot of blood echoes, but just because you gotta make time and that. And you know what, I've been a very busy boy this year so far, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. So you gotta make time for this sort of thing. Besides, what I'm interested in now is actually sort of going back, because it's kind of like, okay, the story of Father Gascoigne is that he's what many people consider to be the first proper boss fight in Bloodborne, because it's completely dependent on what you fight first. Do you either fight the cleric beast or do you fight Father Gascoigne? From a narrative and a story perspective, it's safe to say that actually Father Gascoigne is a better fight for both of those. The cleric beast isn't really a bad fight. It doesn't really teach you anything about how certain things work, because so many times I try and throw those little balls of oil all over the cleric beast and then try to throw a Molotov cocktail, because my assumption of how a lot of these games work is that through a combination of these things, you could probably set the cleric beast on fire and then stun him into submission, because I started the game off with the threaded cane and the blunderbuss. But no, it turned out not to be quite like that. Father Gascoigne, on the other hand, is... Okay, Gascoigne, or rather Father Gascoigne the Hunter, is, like you, a hunter who slowly starts to become corrupted by the vials of blood that you consume all throughout the game as a source of health. And you fight Gascoigne in this tomb, this chamber of place of sorts, and He's like a normal sized guy. He's he's only a bit taller than you, and he fights at you with a blunderbuss and a axe that he can double as a weapon, like every other game in the every other weapon in the game. And halfway through, he becomes so corrupted he turns into this werewolf, and you spend this chunk of the fight actually running away from him. And then you can either stun him by picking up an old music box, or literally just take your shots very, very carefully, and then you can take him down. Now, with that being said, it sounds a bit like a bit of a hands-on ordeal, but I must be honest, I beat Gascoigne on my very first attempt at fighting the boss, because I didn't think it was. Once you get the hang, because I played the actual game I actually played Bloodborne for at least 2 hours before I actually got to Gascoigne, because I wanted to perfect actually doing the parry and the visceral strike attacks. I nailed it to perfection. Spent so much time gathering bullets and blood vials and all the items I need, including leveling up my cane before going to fight Gascoigne. And it's at this point where I kind of wanted, now that I'm looking back on it, I wanted to actually showcase to you the OST, because it's actually sort of a thing I wanted to do for all of the games, to actually do like a tier list ranking all the OST. But Gascoigne as well, but the music for Gascoigne as well is sort of detrimental to a larger, greater expenditure on its lore and design. And it's through things like this. So take a listen to this. And here we go. And it's in parts like this, and I'll just go into I'll explain it a little bit more. It's okay, kind of like in poetry, when you get a stanza where they sort of repeat the same words over again, it takes on a very different meaning, and it can mean different things. Like, why do they feel the need to repeat it? Is there some uncertainty as to the usage of these words? And and it's the same thing in the music as well, is that when it goes da 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 da, is there something like intimidating and dun 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 in the beginning, but then there's something lurking beneath the surface. And that's kind of like how I've always looked at the idea of this boss fight of Gascoigne, is that there's something not quite, they're not quite telling us the full story with this. And there's something about it that, again, assessing kind of like Demon Souls, Dark Souls, and Dark Souls 2 that came before Bloodborne, I would have to say I'm not too sure if I remember any other boss that kind of plays this way to this point. If there's any that like subvert expectations, is that Gwyn definitely subverts expectations. Sif, yes, probably does as well. Vendrick probably even more so, because he's kind of like an even bigger developmental. They built upon the idea of the Gwyn fight and how Vendrick is so hopelessly disheveled and hollow. But this, I think it's for the build up. It gives you the impression that Gascoigne is not quite like Gwyn or Vendrick. He's still very much, as his title would suggest, a hunter. So there's something that obviously he's on the hunt, which again, that makes even more sense if the full title for the boss fight was Father Gascoigne the Hunter. But We'll get to proper titles like later down the line. And here it is. And again, you see, this is where it turns. Now, in this, it's like at this point in the fight is when Gascoigne mutates and turns into one of the hideous beasts. And automatically, the music it shudders. It's still deep, but it goes even faster, implying that there's a chase. There's suddenly a verge of tension that all of a sudden, you're not just having this sort of kind of cleverly designed duel with a fellow hunter. You're now fighting for your... That is like the best way to really like describe a lot of these sorts of fights from a musical point of view, is that it gives you the impression you're just fighting somebody, but now you're fighting for survival. And so, to be honest, Bloodborne... I would say Bloodborne is more survival horror than it is an RPG, in all honesty, but then again, that's just from my own experience. And let me tell you something, my experience... Oh, God, I really do... If they could bring this out onto PC, but that's another story. That's just... That's fantastic. Yeah, it's, again, I don't quite understand it, and again, really taking it all in. This, like, if... I wish there was a what's the most polite way of saying this without wanting to come across as a bit snide, but why on earth, like, it's almost like, it is, I think this game is like, it's not just a video game in itself. That's, you can argue about that, but I think this game is like, it's almost an extension of like the macabre gothic genre. And again, I know a thing or two about that, ladies and gentlemen. Don't you worry about that. But it's one of those things where all of a sudden it transcends the idea that you're not just playing a video game where that has RPG elements. You're playing a game where all of a sudden you're fighting for basically not just the right to survive, but the right to continue living. There's something intrinsically brilliant about like Bloodborne's design philosophy, like the backstory, the lore behind everything, because I think it's something about like the lore about the game is something about people like healing each other with blood from ancient gods called the Great Ones, but because they dabbled in things that they shouldn't have been doing, it turns them brutal and wicked and violent against each other. Nobody dares walk the streets of Yharnam anymore. Even the very hunters have completely vanished, and the scarce that do remain are just sort of sent to almost interminable death. And the only thing we serve in the story is that we're just in for the ride. We are just there to experience everything and to learn about what has made this place just like this. And I want to personally go through, like, I probably will do one for the Cleric Beast as well, but I kind of almost want to do the entire OST for Bloodborne anyway. But because I kind of want to do, like, an entire, like, OST retrospective for the entire FromSoft library. But I might be a little bit biased towards Bloodborne because it tells you everything you need to know about the fight and the way you interact with Gascoigne, the way he mutates, transforms, the way the fight changes, and the implication about, well, if this happens to and what Gascoigne says in the cutscene before you actually fight him. Beasts all over the shop, but you'll be like one of them sooner or later. And then Gascoigne just sort of like breathes very beast-like before the fight begins. It's fantastic. It's easily I know I can see why so many people just love everything for Gascoigne is like this is the world of Yharnam and Bloodborne you've just gotten yourself into. Good luck, dear hunter. And with all those being said and done, let me know what you thought about the OST for Gascoigne, and I'll glad to catch all of you guys again in the next video. Take care, and bye-bye for now.
Hey champ, glad you could make it to the end of the video. I'm super glad you cared this much. If you could do me a great favor and like this video and subscribe to my guy right here. He didn't want to say it himself because he knows I say it way better. Till next time. Mwah.